your best deck against it? I have to say Druid.
Druid, yeah. I think they have more options. His Shaman deck got really close, but I think that that could have been a lot more one-sided for Hyped in a lot of cases.
Right. But then, if your opponent guesses that you're picking Druid, then you pick the Warlock.
Whoa. So he went with Rogue. Now, I've played this deck quite a bit. Almost this exact deck. Maybe not with Trade Prince, the Gallywix, but almost this exact deck a lot over the past week or so. And my win rate versus Handlock is abysmal. That might be because I just am not as experienced with it, but Hyped had to have, or might have had an inclination that Gooby was going to go with the Handlock, because a lot of players do in this format, but decides to go with Rogue, maybe even despite that. Interesting pickup.
It is interesting for sure. I'm not sure if he's running cards that can easily deal with giants like Sap if he needs to get through. Just because Sap, like it's been rotated out of a lot of these rogue decks. You'd rather just kill it, and play for something else, even though it is really good for tempo. I'm not sure. Rogues are having like an identity crisis for sure. They're not really sure who they are, or what they're set to Earth to do.
Yeah.
Or what career they want.
Yeah, it's rough. I might be suffering from the same thing. That's
They
why
do
I'm
have an aptitude for killing, though.
That's why I'm playing Rogue right now.
Oh, because
I like to relate
you relate to Valera very well. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
We're both very pretty women.
On the inside, at
with
least.
an urge to
On the
kill. That just sums me up so perfectly.
All right, it's game 4. It's still elimination game for Gooby. He has to win 2 in a row against Hyped. A very tall order considering Hype's definitely known to be one of the better players in all of North America. And he does have Sabotage, a card that is powerful against Handlock.
So this changes a lot, because when I did have double Sabotage in that deck, my win rate versus Handlock was really good, especially if I had a Sabotage in my opening hand, because dealing with that first giant is usually the hardest part of beating Handlock as a rogue player. So in the past, they would have to use like a Backstab, SI Agent, and an Eviscerate or something along those lines just to be able to deal with one giant. But this makes it quite a bit easier.
And Hyped also has a preparation, so he can do some really interesting stuff, because it's not necessarily even the preparation on the Sabotage, but he also can reload on his hand if he's expending a lot of his resources to deal with threats. He can prep Sprint on turn 4.
Yeah. This is the series of plays that I was talking about that I think is actually really powerful in Rogue, is like a Coin Violet Teacher into Prep Sprint. Now, I don't know if it's that great against Handlock, just because that coin can sometimes be really valuable later on, but it can be a really huge swing.
Well, you have 2 Violet Teachers in hand. I definitely think you want to push it out as soon as you can, just for board presence.
Yeah.
And again, force him to show what he has. Gooby, by doing this, has also denied himself the ability to play a turn 4 giant.
Yes, he has.
So he's going to have to tap again.
Wow.
So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if he preps Sprint, he'll have 9 cards. That's pretty strong.
That's
9
very
cards.
strong.
Like you ramped with card draw, and you didn't have to give up any life.
And then he's putting tokens on the board as well.
Yeah, that's true. For 2 cards, you draw 4, and then you put out 2 1/1s.
For 4 mana. I think that's really strong.
So if that was summarized as discard a card, draw 4, and summon 2 1/1s.
It'd be a very complicated card, but I'd play it.
He also has another opportunity for Violet Teacher here. Second Violet Teacher.
Yeah.
It's not as clear cut as it is just a simply, ooh, cards, yay.
I was thinking that. But I think he wants to have a way to deal with the Ancient Watcher next turn, a clean way to deal with the Ancient Watcher next turn.
I mean, he can deal with it now as well.
Yeah.
Just simply as a Deadly Poison Shiv with the Blood Mage Thanos.
Yeah.
Actually kills it off. So
I think this plays better, because next turn he can still throw the Violet Teacher in and his tokens and be able to sabotage a big giant.
Ooh, a Backstab.
And a BGH.
Very important cards. This is why he feels good against Handlock, I suppose.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a fantastic opening for Hyped, and this changes things quite a bit. And Twilight Drake goes out. I mean, Gooby actually has a pretty good hand. He's got all 4 of his big threats early on, but with Violet Teachers, you can, and that many cards in a Rogue's hand, he can put out so much damage in a single turn, even though this isn't Miracle Rogue. They don't rely on win conditions. They still can put out a sneaky amount of damage in a single turn.
Backstab and Eviscerate with a Thanos is 8 damage.
Okay.
And a token trades it in. So you actually don't trade much to kill off the Drake.
You're replacing 2 tokens with it, so.
Right. And then you push for a little bit of damage.
Indeed.
I mean, now that you have so many cards, it's a little bit hard to tell, but you have a pretty significant amount of burst too with Deadly Poison and Blade Flurry in the next couple turns. And you also have Sap to get rid of like a big target, the taunt.
Yeah, and later on in the game, like a sap damage spell Sabotage clears like double Molten Giant Defender Vargas or something along those lines. So, a really powerful play later on.
You know, I wonder if Gooby also might have given up his Mortal Coil a little bit early if he wanted to use Sabotage. Okay, I wasn't expecting this.
No.
But I think Hype's making a read based off of what his opponent showed in the first few turns of the game by not having a turn 4 play.
Yeah. Well, that's the power of Sabotage. Sometimes it's better to save it for later, but there's really no hurt in playing it right now. A big threat is a big threat no matter how you look at it, and either way he's going to have ways to deal with it.
7. Hold on.
Calculating lethal damage.
There might be lethal next turn if he doesn't Hellfire here.
Dalnos, Eviscerate, Blade Fury.
There's 7 on board plus the Eviscerate and Shiv. So that's 5, 7, 17.
He has 17 damage.
Yeah, 17 damage.
I mean, if he draws into a prep, he can prep Shiv. Yeah, that's maybe with tap. With a tap, that's lethal.
This is a very defensive play.
Wow.
Ends up being okay here.
I think you can just Violet Teacher.
Man, what does that even say if you're the rogue player reading into it? It's like he must have nothing.
Nothing.
It's like when he has a lot. He had all 4 of his ideal turn 4 plays.
And he's got both AoEs as well. It's like out of all the options, he's like, well, I can probably overextend now. He didn't AoE last turn, didn't get rid of my tokens.
Right.
These tokens aren't as dangerous as, like, say, a Paladin's 1/1s, or even like a Druid's 1/1s. Like, they're probably the least threatening tokens out of any, like, token-y deck.
Right.
Because you don't really have any ways to buff them. Because Cold Bloods don't exist really in rogue decks anymore. But still, that damage can really add up quickly.
I mean, it already has. 17. There's
lethal next turn.
There's definitely lethal next turn because there's 8 on the board with minions, 11, and then of course you have the Eviscerate with Spell Power and a Blade Flurry, so that will be lethal.
Even if he Hellfire clears. No.
If he Hellfires, I think he's okay.
Yeah, he's okay. Because if he Hellfire clears, it'd be 12 damage on board.
He'd be at 14 health. His opponent has 6. Oh man, Siphon Soul number 2?
You can tell Gooby shook his head.
How does... I mean, there's Dr. Boom and Ragnaros in this deck.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. 5, 15, 18.
He's 1 mana.
Ah, he's 1 mana off lethal.
Wow. And the plays here aren't as clear cut as they were before.
Wait, are you sure? Actually, no. I think he wouldn't even have it.
Okay,
yeah,
so
he wouldn't have it even if
10 plus 4. Oh yeah, he'd be at 19. That'd be 19 damage with 8 mana.
So now I think you attack, and do you hold off on letting him play Molten Giants?
Yeah.
I guess it's okay because you have
a lot of
play Thanos. I think do you play your smaller minions like Thanos and Farseer? If he Hellfire clears and then plays Molten Giants, you're okay with that, right? Because
then you'd win. Yeah, I think you're okay with that.
Because
Well,
then
actually,
he's
no,
at
you wouldn't win in
12,
that situation.
and then you have double Eviscerate with, yeah, you have Blade Flurry, double Eviscerate, and hit the face.
Okay. Yeah. Lots of damage calculations going on this turn.
He would have to Hellfire, Molten Giant, and taunt up with a Sun Fury, and then Hyped could draw Preparation, prep Sap into double Eviscerate, Blade Flurry, and Hero Power and win. So it looks like no matter what Gooby does here, he's dead.
Yeah.
A very, very meticulous setup here on both ends, like a lot of calculations. But looks like in the end, Gooby is going to go down here.
Yeah. And he had to play that Molten Giant before the Hellfire, or else he wouldn't have had enough mana. So there's no choice in injuring that.
This
Mountain
is
Giant.
exact lethal here, I believe.
Yeah.
You have to Blade Flurry first, and then double Eviscerate for 8 damage. That's 11, and then Hero Power and kill him.
Exact lethal for exact mana.
Yep. And Hype's played so much Rogue that there's no way he's gonna miss like lethals.
Yeah,
He always counts it out as best as he can.
yeah. And you always have to play ahead as Rogue, at least a little bit to sort of make sure that you set yourself up for lethal. And that's a pretty quick first series, but a really exciting one.
I mean, that's already in contention for one of my favorite series of the day, just solely off the first game. And you know, what a great run again by Gooby. But I feel so bad because it's last time in week 5, he was 1 game away from going to the Saturday event, got denied there, and now here he's 1 round away from being invited back and having another chance. But that's just how it is. It's brutal nature of having these open competitions. But I think he definitely made a name for himself. So if not this season, Gooby, that you able to get to our offline finals, I think definitely people have put him on notice.
Yeah, and he's won a little bit of cash as well from the Sunday Cups. And
Yeah.
you have to remember yesterday in the Challenger Finals to get to where he is today, he went 6-0 in his matches. So that's really impressive stuff. And I mean, he had a good showing. He had some really great play over the past couple of days. But hyped. I'm excited. I'm very hyped to see him move forward and make it back and say,
that original
easy
pun.
puns.
Yeah. Well, we certainly have a nice show coming up for you.
Yeah.
With the next match.
Wow, you really trumped my pun.
Did you say he went 6-0?
Okay.
Well, we're having fun, guys. No, believe me, we are. Our next match, like we said, will be Zalay versus Show. This one's going to be cool because it's between 2 semifinalists from the previous week, and they do match up another unknown guy who's showing some consistency with some pretty solid play, up against a player that's pretty known for his consistency in Warrior, at least when he plays as #1 in the region. That's going to be coming up for you guys. We want to also thank the people that make this possible. That series was brought to you by Cooler Master, Western Digital, and Crew.